Saudia Flight 163 was a scheduled domestic passenger flight from Riyadh to Jeddah on August 19, 1980. After takeoff, a fire broke out in the rear cargo compartment. Although the aircraft landed safely in Riyadh, all 301 occupants died due to smoke inhalation as evacuation was fatally delayed after landing. Let's see what happened. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and fasten your seat belts. On the night of August 19, 1980, the skies over Saudi Arabia were clear and calm, a peaceful atmosphere that starkly contrasted with what was about to unfold. Saudia Flight 163, operated by a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, took off from Riyadh International Airport bound for Jeddah, carrying 287 passengers and 14 crew members. It was a routine domestic flight, just over an hour long, but it would become one of the deadliest tragedies in aviation history. A few minutes after takeoff, at an altitude of about 7,000 meters, a smoke alarm was triggered in the rear cargo compartment. The crew, led by experienced pilots, quickly initiated emergency procedures. The captain informed air traffic control of a fire on board and requested an immediate return to Riyadh. The tower granted permission for an emergency landing. Despite the seriousness of the situation, the pilots remained composed. The aircraft began descending back toward the runway as smoke gradually spread through the fuselage. In the cockpit, instruments indicated the growing emergency. Passengers seated near the rear began to notice the smell of smoke, and flight attendants tried to maintain order. There was no panic yet, but the tension was mounting. The landing occurred at 21:06, about 25 minutes after takeoff. The TriStar touched down safely, and the tower cleared to taxi to a designated area. But it was at this critical moment that the unimaginable happened. Instead of initiating an immediate evacuation, the engines remained running for more than 3 minutes as the plane slowly taxied to the end of the runway, stopping about 2,000 meters from the terminal. The control tower continued to communicate with the cockpit, but there was no urgent request for evacuation. Time was slipping away. Inside the aircraft, the smoke thickened. The temperature began to rise. Some passengers were already losing consciousness from inhaling toxic fumes. Still, the emergency exits remained closed. Finally, at 21:09, the engines were shut down. But by then, it was too late. Rescue teams approached the aircraft, but encountered difficulties opening the doors. When they finally managed to enter, they found all 301 occupants dead, most from asphyxiation. No attempt had been made to evacuate. Not a single emergency door had been opened. A catastrophe in silence. The investigation that followed uncovered shocking details. The fire, likely caused by flammable materials in the cargo hold, was not contained in time. The crew, though trained, hesitated to initiate an evacuation immediately after landing. The exact reason for this hesitation remains controversial to this day. One theory is that the captain believed the fire was under control and wanted to move the plane to a safer location before evacuating. Another theory points to communication failures and confusion in emergency procedures. The final report highlighted multiple deficiencies: the lack of an effective fire suppression system in the cargo area, insufficient alarms in the cockpit, and inadequate training for rapid evacuation in smoke conditions. The tragedy of Saudia Flight 163 became a turning point in aviation history, not only because of the high death toll, but because all lives were lost after a technically successful landing. The incident led to international regulatory changes. Airlines were required to revise their emergency evacuation procedures, especially in cases involving onboard fires. Fire detection and suppression systems were improved, with particular emphasis on rapid response. Over the years, families of the victims continued to seek answers. Many could not understand how an aircraft that landed safely could end in complete loss of life. The pain and disbelief lingered for decades. No criminal charges were filed against those responsible, but the airline faced heavy criticism from experts and regulatory agencies. Today, Saudia Flight 163 is remembered as a bitter lesson for the aviation industry. It demonstrates that in emergencies, every second counts. Hesitation, even for a few minutes, can cost hundreds of lives. It is a story of tragedy, of deadly silence, and of a lost opportunity. But it is also a lasting reminder of the importance of swift action, preparation, and accountability when it comes to safety in the skies. The 301 passengers and crew members were not victims of crash or explosion, but of human failure at a moment when survival was still possible. Their names are not forgotten. They are part of one of the most painful and instructive chapters in global aviation.